Hey guys, a lot of the mods and service that you might want to do to this bike requires taking off all of these plastic fairings to get access to the areas behind it. And so in this video I'm going to show you how to take these things off, hopefully without breaking anything. Alright, in this video we're going to be working on the right side fairings. The process is basically the same between the right and the left. There's one or two little differences that I'll point out as we go. We're going to start by taking off this top piece, then the side piece, and then the main fairing. I know this seems like kind of an intimidating job if you haven't done it before, but if you follow all the steps, it's pretty straightforward. And then after we get everything off, we'll go through the process of putting everything back on. So we're going to start up here first. To get this top piece off, the first thing you'll need to do is take out this 4mm bolt, and then take out this pop rivet. A quick note about pop rivets. These things are all over the bike and they hold a lot of the plastic pieces together. So the way they work is you see the little circle in the middle. You're going to want to press that in, and then once it's down, the pop rivet will pull out. And there's this piece of plastic in the middle. When you're going to put it back in, you press it up so that it's sticking out. You'll stick it back in the hole, and then you press this piece back down. Alright, the next step is going to be to pull this fairing away, and there are four projections or hooks. There's one here, one here, one here, and then a fourth one down here. And it's basically just a prong that's in a rubber grommet. So we're going to pull this away slowly. Make sure once the hooks let go that you're not pulling so that you rip the whole thing out. So just kind of prop yourself up against the bike, and it'll take some force, but just pull back slowly. We'll do the same thing here, and then this whole piece is going to slide forward. Alright, so I've got all three up here, and then you've got the last one down here. Alright, all of these are out, and then this whole piece should be able to slide forward. And just so you can see what I'm talking about, these are the rubber grommets. There's 1, 2, 3, 4. And then these are those the prongs that go into the rubber grommets. So you have the 3 here that connect to those. And then you've got this one, which goes in there. And then up at the front, this is by the headlights, this is just a series of hooks that go into these holes, and that's why this whole piece slides forward. So you pull the three grommets out, the fourth grommet out on the bottom, and then slide it forward. Next, we're going to take off the side panel. All there is 2 4mm Allen bolts, one here, and then there are 2 more prongs inside of rubber grommets right in the middle. Okay, so here you can see this is one of the rubber grommets, and this is the other rubber grommet. When I was pulling on this, it was flexing a little bit, so I just kind of put my hand underneath to hold that firm. And then these are the 2 prongs that go into those grommets, and then this piece comes right off. To take off the main fairing, there's quite a few little steps. The first is a little hook right here. This will just pull off pretty easily. Hooks around the frame. Then you've got a 4mm Allen bolt here. Then you have 2 4mm Allen bolts up here by the headlight. Down here on the bottom of the fairing there's a 6mm bolt. On the left side fairing there will be 2 of these, but that's pretty obvious. Up at the front, this is the connector for the turn signal. on the other fairing, in addition to this connection for the turn signal, you'll see another connection behind it, and that's for the air temperature sensor. And then inside of the front fender area, you can see two pop rivets. There's one right there in the middle of the screen, and one there in the back. I've already taken these out, but there's two pop rivets, one in the front here, this is just behind the front wheel, and then a second one that's underneath. Alright, I forgot to turn on the mic, so I'll be doing a voiceover for this next bit. You're going to start by loosening the 4mm Allen bolt in the back, and then the two 4mm Allen bolts up front. Next, you'll unplug the turn signal connector, and a small flat screwdriver is helpful here, and then you'll undo the brown tab from the fairing by squeezing the two prongs on the other side of the fairing. Undo the 6mm bolt at the bottom of the fairing. Then you'll remove the two pop rivets up in the front fender area. I've already done this, but you're going to remove the two pop rivets down behind the front wheel, and then loosen the 4mm bolt on the lower metal fairing. After you take out the bolt, there are two little metal tabs holding this piece in place, so you can just carefully pull it away. There's one prong and a rubber grommet behind this part of the fairing. If you reach behind, you can feel it with your fingers. Just carefully pull it away, and then the whole fairing will slide backward toward the rear of the bike to come off. Alright, to start putting these fairings back together, we're going to start by putting on the main large fairing. And to do that, we're going to slide these hooks up here, up into this, the front headlight area. And then we're going to secure this hook, or this projection right here, into this rubber grommet. And then there's the hook on the top of the fairing that just clips around the frame. And then after that, we'll tighten up the other bolts that hold this together. As a helpful frame of reference, you see these two holes in this front fairing. When you put this in, these two rubber well nuts are going to line up with these two holes from behind. Also make sure that your turn signal lead is visible. Alright, so we've got the front hooked in, we've got this hook clipped over the frame, we have the projection stuck into the grommet over here. Now I'm going to clip the turn signal lead back in and plug in the turn signal. Next, I'm going to put in the two pop rivets up inside the front fender area. Once that's done, we're going to put this 4mm bolt back right here. And we're going to put in the two 4mm bolts up front. I found sometimes you kind of have to apply some pressure to these parts to get everything to line up correctly. And when you're tightening these down, if you haven't tightened something into a well nut before, you don't need to really crank them down. You just tighten them until the rubber on the other side starts to compress just a little bit. Then we're going to put in this bolt, the 6mm. Then we're going to put in the two pop rivets up front. Next, we have this lower fairing cover. This has two flat hooks that go into rubber grommets. One of them is just underneath the bolt that we tightened. There's another one right down here. And then you tighten it up last with this 4mm bolt. Next, we're going to put this little middle fairing back on. There are just the two hooks that go into these two grommets. And then two 4mm Allen bolts. And then last is the front fairing. Front fairing has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 hooks that correspond with these holes up here. We're going to line up those hooks, pull the fairing back, and then we have the one grommet that plugs into this, and then these three plug in here. It helps if you have good light so that you can look behind the fairing and see what we're doing. After you get this on, we're going to put the 4mm Allen bolt in the back. And then the pop rivet up in the front. And that's it. Alright, so that's it. That's how you take off and put back on the fairings. Like I said before, we did the right side. It's the same process as the left side. The only difference being you have this extra piece of metal down here, and then there's no temperature sensor on the right side. Seems like an intimidating job, but it's pretty easy if you just follow the directions. Make sure you work slowly and keep track of all the little bolts that you'll be taking off. If you have any questions or comments, feel free to put them below. Thanks for watching.